Can you really change someone's opinion through debate, or is it just a pointless argument?
That's a great question, and I think it's possible to shift someone's perspective, but it's not always easy, and it requires a deep understanding of the topic and the other person's point of view.
I've always wondered if it's worth the effort, especially when it comes to sensitive topics like politics or social issues, where people tend to be very set in their ways.
Today, we'll be exploring some of the most effective ways to debate current issues, and you'll learn how to take a stand, weigh the pros and cons, and make a point without alienating your opponent.
That sounds like a great plan, and I'm sure our viewers will appreciate learning about these skills, especially since most learners get the concept of weighing pros and cons completely wrong.
Exactly, and we'll also be discussing how to back up an argument with evidence and reach a consensus, even when you disagree.
Let's start with taking a stand, which means clearly stating your position on an issue, and here's the weird part, it's not just about being confident, but also about being open to changing your mind.
That's right, and a great example of taking a stand is when a politician announces their stance on a particular issue, and then explains why they hold that view, and what evidence supports it.
I've noticed that when people take a stand, they often forget to consider the opposing viewpoint, which can lead to a lack of understanding and empathy.
Weighing the pros and cons is a crucial part of debating, and it involves making a list of the advantages and disadvantages of a particular issue or decision, and then evaluating which side has the most compelling arguments.
A real-life example of weighing the pros and cons is when a company decides whether to invest in a new project, and they need to consider the potential benefits, such as increased revenue, against the potential drawbacks, such as financial risk.
Here's the weird part, many people make the mistake of only considering the pros and ignoring the cons, which can lead to poor decision-making.
Making a point is another essential skill in debating, and it involves clearly and concisely stating your argument, and backing it up with evidence, and a great example of this is when a lawyer presents a case in court.
Exactly, and a common mistake people make when making a point is to use emotional appeals rather than logical reasoning, which can undermine their argument and make it less convincing.
I've seen this happen in many debates, where people rely on personal anecdotes rather than facts and data to support their claims.
Agreeing to disagree is also an important part of debating, and it involves acknowledging that you and your opponent may not see eye to eye, and that's okay, as long as you've both presented your arguments and listened to each other's perspectives.
A great example of agreeing to disagree is when two friends have different opinions on a particular issue, but they still manage to maintain a respectful and open dialogue, and here's the weird part, they may even learn something new from each other.
Reaching a consensus is the ultimate goal of debating, and it involves finding common ground and compromise, and a great example of this is when a group of people work together to find a solution to a complex problem.
Let's summarize some of the key phrases we've discussed today, such as taking a stand, weighing the pros and cons, making a point, and agreeing to disagree, and imagine you're in a real-life situation where you need to use these skills to negotiate a salary increase with your employer.
Exactly, and today's challenge is to use one of these phrases in a comment below, and tell us how you would apply it to a current issue or problem that you're facing.
I hope our viewers have enjoyed this conversation, and have learned some valuable skills for debating current issues, and we'll be back tomorrow with a new topic, where we'll be discussing the art of storytelling and how to craft a compelling narrative.
If you enjoyed this conversation, subscribe for daily English practice, and join us next time for more engaging discussions and debates.